NTSB decided that they would go down to Eglin Air Force Base and shoot stingers, flares, and fireworks. And they would put witnesses on the ground in different locations at various distances from the launch point. And basically the theory was that when they do this, the witnesses would be so at odds at what the eyewitnesses claimed, it would prove conclusively that the eyewitnesses didn't know what they were talking about, and therefore it could be brought up to refute the eyewitnesses in the final hearing. Guess what?
They had a missile visibility test, and it was on the nightly news, and I happened to see it that night. The missile launch was very similar to what I saw out here. It matched pretty identical to it.
Here's an example of how the U.S. media covered the missile visibility test.
Government investigators have confirmed tonight that the Army recently conducted some dramatic tests to disprove once and for all whether or not a missile attack was responsible for the explosion of TWA Flight 800.
Actually, according to the official report, the test was done to determine how far away a witness could be and still see a missile.
Here's NBC's Robert Hager.
The report starts off with a visual cue to remind viewers to connect missiles with conspiracy theories.
3 times, Army contractors fire Stinger missiles similar to this, as NTSB investigators watch below. Investigators do not stage the test because they seriously believe a missile caused the TWA crash. In fact, they're certain it was not a missile.
Now pay close attention to what he says next.
But they do feel it's important for the record to match what they were able to see in the test with what some eyewitnesses believe they saw off Long Island.
If they're so certain that a missile didn't cause the crash, why would they have to match what the Flight 800 witnesses believe they saw with the missiles the eyewitnesses actually saw during the test in Florida?
Eyewitnesses like Vietnam vet Fred Meyer, who was in a helicopter that night.
I followed a streak of light, red-orange in color, moving from my left center to my further left.
Meyer says then he saw explosions similar to this.
Actually, this, the plane descending in a fireball, is not what he saw next. What he saw next was...
I saw an explosion. And the explosion was on the trajectory of the streak of light I had been following.
The descending fireball was the last thing Major Myers saw.
Why are investigators sure it wasn't a missile? It's this reconstruction. No residue of any missile explosives, none.
This is false. Government investigators did report finding explosive residues on the plane.
Instead, a pattern of twisted metal that shows the explosion that did bring the plane down originated here in the center fuel tank.
And this is also false. There is no evidence confirming that the explosion that brought down the plane originated in the center fuel tank.
And no continuous holes in a straight line through the wreckage, which would have had to have been left if a missile penetrated.
Not if it were a proximity-fused missile that does not penetrate, but explodes nearby. This, and many other media reports, persistently focused on missiles that could penetrate the plane.
So investigators believe what eyewitnesses saw was the trail of fire left in the sky by the falling plane itself.
Well before seeing this descending fireball, many witnesses reported seeing an object rise up off the surface.
What investigators really believe is that the fuel tank exploded because of an electrical short or some other mechanical problem.
What investigators? No ignition source was ever confirmed. And what other mechanical problems? The reporter provides no details.
And nothing they observed in the new missile test has changed their minds.
But he never reports the results of the test. The results that show that all observers easily saw the missile.
Robert Hager, NBC News, Washington.
What about detonation at some distance, perhaps self-destruct scenario?
It's possible that several types of missiles could have been in the vicinity of TWA Flight 800 at the time of the mishap. But the possibility that that occurred is hard to imagine.